There is a common denominator between Democrats and Republicans. There's a common denominator between Antifa and the Proud Boys. There's a common denominator between the BLM and the KKK. The common denominator is the same on all those guys, and they're all on the same damn page, and they're just fighting for control over this, really the same thing. Hey guys, Rex here. What is the root word in Minuteman? There's a reason why I focus so much time on that root word. Because without that root word being firmly in place, being the gravitas in the center of that word is not going to carry any kind of weight. And unfortunately, I think because of our lack of seriousness, the constitutionalists, the libertarians, the right in general, we're going to lose the civil war against the left. They have understood their gravity, and they've shown extreme patience and tenacity over the last few decades, totally infiltrating all of culture right around us. School systems, colleges, pop culture, all the music, TV, everything, right? Permeated all the way through the entire system. The court system, the police, the military now is being purged. Let alone the politicians everyone likes to complain about. Why? How is it possible that that even happened? Because people let their guard down and they failed to realize what the center of gravity is when it comes to that issue. What's the center of gravity, guys? Is it the tools? Is it the 2A stuff? Is it the gun culture stuff? Just possessing tools doesn't make you a carpenter. And just being a carpenter doesn't mean you can build a house if you don't have plans and if you don't own the property. What I'm saying is that we need to refocus seriously with a greater degree of tenacity and seriousness. We need to focus more on our foundation than they have. Now, will that happen? I sure hope so. We spend a lot of time on the Real Dope series on Patreon talking about the various attributes of what makes a man and also warning people against ways to detect a communist. You see, they have a different center of gravity. It's a different thing that they're built on. But because they're focusing on their gravity, they win. How do you think the Maoists had so much success across the face of the world? There's tough people all over the world. Here in the United States, it's the bikers or the cowboys or whoever, right? We're the tough guys. The 2A guys, we're so tough, Rex. Yeah, well, there's tough guys everywhere else, and they got totally overthrown by Maoists. Little children running around that everyone made fun of. Skinny little brats, like the rap guys or whatever, right? The little Antifa guys wearing the black pajamas. Everyone made fun of them. And then they took over all of the institutions, all the police departments. They got control of the militaries, and they took over the damn country, and they killed their enemies in many places across the world. Who was smarter? Just having bravado. It's not, I'm not going to say it's not enough. It's indicative that people do not understand that root word. The founding fathers understood it. Our culture doesn't understand it. And I can say that with authority. I know it's a fact. Any serious martial art concentrates on their core principles, right, guys? The way of the warrior. In Japanese martial arts, they call it Bushido, right? The moral code concerning the attitudes, behavior, and lifestyle. The attitudes, behaviors, and lifestyles. 90% of karate. There's a new series. I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but it's off the Karate Kid. It's a whole new remix on that. I know a lot of people really enjoy it. Problem, in my opinion, is it turned it on its head. They've inverted the value system. It's all self-centered, egocentric values, in which it's all about like pride and honor of like reclaiming the championship and like being respected. It's the upside down version of what karate is really about. And it's not just karate, it's all serious martial arts, including what the founding fathers were engaged in, right? People don't understand. It's a very short half-life, one's owed pride and ego, because the things that prop it up dissolve. I mean, we're mortal. If you want to be engaged in mortal combat, be my guest. But I'd rather engage in something a little more permanent and a little more effective in the long term. How did this country get here? What sustained this country? What was the well of fortitude our founding fathers drew from to establish this much momentum in the right direction? Where the children, us, can be so clueless for so many decades. And even with all the infiltration going on, we still enjoy such great liberties here. At some point, what goes up must come down, and it does take more energy input to continue that. We have to focus our efforts on understanding what the root word of Minuteman is. Okay? And talk about that even more on Patreon. I get comments, man, sometimes. Rex, like, I joined this because I want rifle stuff. I literally think of the new white belt kid, like in Taekwondo or karate or whatever, jiu-jitsu. It's like, well, just teach me the death move. Rex, just teach us the death blows. Listen, kid. No. You're not equipped to handle how to use the death blow appropriately. Why does the master retain certain knowledge? Until you get to a high enough degree to appreciate it and employ it properly. Or you should just like show people how to shoot stuff, Rex. Yeah, we did that. We did that for a long time, right? But it is incumbent upon all of us who are helping people to acquire new skills to center that gravity and get the alignment right. If you have the wrong natural point of aim as a man in life, then all those skills are going to be completely ineffective because they're not going to be used to engage the correct targets. More of that on Patreon. I have to be careful what I say on YouTube to the audience here and publicly that's unfiltered. Some of the stuff has to be absolutely filtered, so more of that on Patreon. But it's you'll see an inward humility and outward gentleness that true gentlemen have. People that are actually extremely squared away in how this stuff works. There's a reason for that, because they have concentrated their efforts on the root of the word Minuteman. Unfortunately, in the West, in the United States here, and our extreme abundance, it's so plastic and superficial. Guys think that they can go to the gym and be a man by looking like the little He-Man doll they have there. Or they think they can be a man by buying a certain brand of two-wheeled vehicles. Or they think they can be a man by buying the exact same rifle setup that's on their video game. Or they can be a man by drawing, I'm extremely tough on their arms. And the evidence of that, we're going to go a lot more into that on Patreon. We've already been pounding out the communist rules for revolution and the different traits of how to spot infiltration in your ranks, because they've infiltrated not only all of society, they're infiltrating the two-way community. We talked about that earlier. They're infiltrating shooting ranges. They're infiltrating training schools. They're infiltrating the military. They're getting real skills. You see like I'm telling you, all these little punks everyone made fun of, just like in all the other Maoist countries, they will eventually, that's like their final move. So when I see that being carried out now, that they've been working for 70 or 80 or 100 years at least, that much tenacity on establishing their gravity. All right, now they're equipping themselves with the current martial skills. That's a problem. And I do not think we're ready for that. I don't think we're ready to meet them. Because just like you saw on January 6th, if you're not extremely organized and your primary center of gravity in your movement is to emote, be emotional with no plan, with no operational orders, no clearly established lines of effort, what's the natural point of aim of that? Every direction. It's not what you call a focus of energy. And in fact, the battlefield, if it's lowered to that plane where you're engaging in that type of activity, you've already lost. 0 to infinity, the real dope. We teach guys to shoot 100 yards. We teach guys to shoot 1,000 yards in RX 1000. We teach them to shoot 3,000 yards, RX 3000. And now I'm shifting my efforts over to teaching people how to shoot infinity, because that's what is really going to be required to win in any meaningful way. If you guys want to hear more about that, we have the series. I think we're on part 15 or 16 right now of the Real Dope series. Yes, we do talk about long-range riflemanship. We do talk about gear and equipment, but it's all really on another level. You know, we're drawn into this paradigm of the left versus the right. And some people who think they're real smart, well, it's not just the left versus the right. It's not just communism versus, fascism. It's authoritarianism and libertarianism, Rex. Okay. And no matter which way you plot this out in 2 dimensions, you got your y-axis, you got your x-axis, right? You plot out the political spectrum. Where are you at on here? There is a common denominator between Democrats and Republicans. There's a common denominator between Antifa and the Proud Boys. There's a common denominator between the BLM and the KKK. The common denominator is the same on all those guys, and they're all on the same damn page, and they're just fighting for control over this, really the same thing. There's a whole nother axis to your political spectrum. You got the left and the right. You got authoritarianism and libertarianism. There's also a Z-axis on there, guys. This way. It's more than 2 dimensions. To explore more of what that is and what that entails, we'll talk about that more on Patreon. The Z-axis. If you don't understand that, you cannot possibly navigate through the 2-dimensional terrain and roadblocks. It's a rat's maze. You're never, ever, ever going to win thinking that way. How did the founding fathers do it? We talked about this at RX Zulu a couple years ago. Zulu, the Z-axis. The first shall be last. Not trying to be cryptic for no reason. There's got to be thinking involved, and there's a certain amount of steps you must take in the journey before you have enough buy-in to truly possess what you're seeking to possess. If you don't have to go find the treasure, it's of no value to you when you do find it. And no, we can't plug you in to the Matrix with the plug in the back of your head and download Kung Fu. Can't be done. So thank you for having patience with me on that. And when you see people on the forums and the Facebook pages and all other forms of life emoting against each other adolescently, engaging in mortal combat, you can know that they're just children flailing about. They're the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. So we rise above that stuff. We'll catch you guys over on Patreon. You can subscribe for a year. It's like 16% off. We're going to talk about more traits to look for that are easy to spot someone. Most people on the right who complain about communists are in fact themselves in the core a communist themselves. You probably got a communist in your own house. Okay? We need to root that shit out and get serious and truly evaluate where we're at if we want to live. Otherwise, our children are going to grow up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. All right? Rex out. If you're looking for rugged precision in your long-range optics, check out Arcan Optics. They still have a deal going on the SH4 Generation 2 scopes. I use these on everything from 50s down to 22 rifles. They're excellent scopes. Very, very rugged, very precise. They have all the features. Check them out. I will leave a link below. Save $170 if you include the combo pack or use the link to support the channel.